The jury in the Lac-Mégantic disaster trial begins its deliberations today, and those jurors will decide the fate of 3 former railway workers who are each charged with 47 counts of criminal negligence causing death in the July of 2013 tragedy. Well, now that the jurors are sequestered, that means, of course, we can tell you what evidence they did not hear. Megan Roberts with us this morning with more on what was not presented in court. Good morning, Megan.
Good morning, Heather. One of the things that was not presented in court that jurors did not hear was the Transportation Safety Board of Canada investigation, the results of that investigation into this tragedy. Specifically, the judge ruled them inadmissible. Now, that report concluded that, quote, no one individual, a single action or a single factor caused the derailment that you're looking at right now, those really famous images of that fireball in that city and how tragic it all was. The report also identified 8 different causes and factors contributing to this accident, including gaps in training and failure by Transport Canada to audit the company that was responsible for the train that caused this disaster. That company is called Montreal, Maine and Atlantic, and the TSB report also specifically said that that company had a, quote, weak safety culture. The report also called out specifically the engineer driving the train, whose name is Tom Harding, one of the accused. That report said that he relied on a combination of hand and air brakes to stop this train while it idled, which is not allowed. So this is some of the evidence from that TSB report that jurors did not hear and will not be considering in their deliberation today.
So as they begin those deliberations, they look at not 1 but 3 verdicts that they'll have to decide. Megan, and again, talk a little bit about that. Do they rule individually? Do they rule collectively? We know the defense, for example, called no witnesses at trial. So interesting information on which they'll be basing their decision.
That's absolutely right. So they were actually specifically instructed by the judge to consider this not consider this a joint trial. They're looking at each of these individual men separately. Those 3 men are Tom Harding, the engineer, as we mentioned, you can see on the right-hand side of your screen, as well as Richard Labrie, the traffic controller, and Jean Demetra, the manager of train operations. So the jury will be considering each of these 3 men separately and giving them each an individual verdict. Heather.